Rub-on transfers are such a beautiful way to add all kinds of different detail to our projects. They are beautiful. They're super easy to apply. They're perfect for layering. They're precious. We don't like to mess up with them, right? Well, today we're going to walk through several creative ways to use rub-ons. This is a oft request that I hear from the community. And so let's jump in and do just that. So 3 creative ways we're going to walk through today. The first one is backgrounds. Creating backgrounds with our rub-ons, utilize them. They appear layered. They're anytime, let's just state this fact right here. Anytime we're putting something on a surface, it's a layer. Whether it's stamp and ink, which is relatively flat, right? Doesn't have a lot of depth or texture to it, has visual texture. So do rub-ons. Rub-ons carry this visual texture. And what, for me, rub-ons do, I love this about our paper projects, is it pulls me in to the project itself and causes me to linger. I love when we just kind of linger over the things that we've made or that someone else has made. It's like walking through a museum. You stand in front of the artwork. You put your chin on your hand. You tilt your head. You look and you discover things. That to me is what background rub-ons are all about. So now I feel like I always need to unpack this because we have every type of creativity that loves to jump into these videos, from those of us who love to scrapbook, those of us who love to junk journal or art journal or create tags. The surfaces still, we can do the same thing no matter what the outcome of the project is. Okay, that's settled yet again today. I feel so much better. I hope you do too. So what you see here, I have a couple of things started for yet another page in my summer book. And a couple things I wanted to point out. So I have a larger background page. This isn't quite 6 by 8. Yeah, I cut a little bit off of this gingham paper. This gingham paper is from ScrapbookCom. It's an exclusive paper to them, and I keep grabbing for it. It's really pulling me in, and so I thought that would be kind of a fun interest on this page. Just then going to sit inside the book, maybe have another background. We'll see how that works out. I have these essential book plates from 49 Market. So I have one of these. It's going to be part of my background. And you can see here I have this nested Swiss dot rectangles. That's a mouthful. And if you can see, on each of these shapes have a Swiss dot all the way around them. And so I used this big one. I had the scrap of paper. I just wanted to create a bit of a frame. And you don't have to use a whole thing of a die cut, but we're not talking about die cuts today, are we? We're talking about rub-ons. But, we got to talk about all the things. It's not just any one thing we're talking about here. So what I'm going to do first here, I decided, because I was kind of playing with this. I'm like, okay, this is my base here. I knew I wanted to tuck that in because it's just so cool. And I have this together, kind of a watercolor sentiment, if you will, definition for sure. This is from 49 Market, Crafty Garden. We've been diving into this one. And by we, I mean me, this one quite a bit. And so I thought, because this is about together, there's a whole bunch of stories I have in here about together. I'm going to go ahead and put this up here on this top corner to start my background with rub-ons. Okay. And this can be anything. This could be a smaller definition. It could be like these more painterly kind of elements here. It could be paint splotches. It could be a butterfly. It could be these palettes. Like, pull out your rub-on stash. Start looking at them a little bit differently. Sometimes we think, well, sometimes, okay, we think all the time. That's not what I want to say. Very often we put ourselves into creative boxes. Well, this rub-on must be front and center on a project. And I want to encourage us to, right now, for this first part, this number one creative way we're going to utilize our very precious rub-ons is to put them in the background. And kind of, some of it's going to be hid a little bit. It's not really too much different than stamping. Or even, you know, paper. Even if you put a die cut paper in the back, it's not all going to be shown. If you follow along here on the channel, you'll see that that is a thing. I don't always put something in the background so that you can always see it. It's in the background on purpose. Okay, so that's a great start. And then what I'll do is I'll come back up here and see, I'm super happy to be able to see the together. That's kind of what I want to bring in here. So almost as always, I also have the space down here, which a lot of this is going to get covered up. And that's okay. But I like for my corners to talk to each other. I think the eye starts up here at the left and we kind of come down a little bit. So I'm eyeballing this right here. This is, I keep wanting to go for this gingham here. I already have it, so I probably won't use it. But gosh, it's very tempting. I could even do a floral here, which I think I'm going to. So now I'm going to cut out this floral background. Okay, so we have this trimmed out. I like to trim out my rub-ons from the background, keeping the back with this plasticky paper. I know, I lied to you because now I have that cut out right there. But for the most part, this is how I like to keep them. I feel like the pages stay together better that way. And this also has some paint splotches as well. And I think the thing here is I'm not going to use the whole thing. I'm going to cut this off right here. That's going to be my right edge. So the tip is that you don't have to use a whole entire rub-on. You can use a part of a rub-on. So I'm going to snuggle that right up to the edge. And then transfer that in place. So very, very simple way to add a background. I realize this is a book plate, but I think this is a fantastic way to utilize these book plates, or any background paper, or any pattern paper. Maybe you have a swatch of pattern paper that is a little bit more open, meaning there's not a lot of pattern on it, and you're just coming in and creating your own pattern. Pay attention to the pattern papers that you do have. Very often, they can be their own inspiration for making a pattern paper someplace else. So let's come back. Oh, that's so beautiful to me. I love that so much. I love how that's just peeking out just like that. And I will be adding some elements here in a little bit. And what this might encourage me to do is just maybe come up a little higher so that I'm not completely covering it. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We're not done yet. Okay, what else can we add to our background? I will add this element here. This was from this rub-on right here. And this has basically been cut off on this side, so it's ready to come out of an edge again. I'm going to layer this a little bit over the previous rub-on. So now you kind of have double layers going on right here, right? And it's going to add some of those paint splotches, that leaf, and then those are really, again, from a design standpoint, those are really talking to each other. There's a consistency between them, which, with that being said, there's another part of a definition over here. It belongs to this long dragonfly one, but I'm okay with coming in here and cutting it out as well. And I'm going to kind of not make a straight line because that is going to, this part of the rub-on here on the left side is going to be seen. So if I just cut it straight, it's going to look a little too straight. I can't think of a word. It's going to look a little too extreme for me. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come along here. I'm going to layer it over this previous rub-on that's already in place here. Make sure that's straight. I think it is. You got to be careful when you lay these down because I already did this. I kind of pulled off a bit of the rub-on already. In this situation, I can get away with it. It's not really noticeable. Sometimes they are noticeable and you don't want to make that mistake because you'll feel like you didn't give justice to your rub-on because it's not all adhered down. Okay, let's try and get this up very small. And okay, I just want to make sure that I have this all down here. Oops, I had a little part that didn't stick. I'm just going to come back in. There we go. All right, well, that's fun. Okay, so now that brings so much life and texture to this background here. Even though I'm coming in with this, I'm okay with that. And I've got some other embellishments that are going to live around here. But that's how I'm going to utilize layering for a background this rub-on transfer. All right, now while I'm sharing 3 ideas today for rub-ons, just know, don't limit yourself to 3. These are just 3 that I kind of off the top of my head, thinking through things that how I use rub-ons, and hopefully inspiring how you can use them as well. Another idea I have is to use rub-ons for a title, especially larger ones. Sometimes there's those 12 by 12 rub-ons, especially 49 Market still has the 12 by 12. There's some large sheets. There's some pretty large titles. I grabbed this one from Flower Emporium, and this Happy Times is a little bit bigger than normal. It could go on a tag. It could go on a banner die cut. I kind of set this up a little bit as to how I think this is going to go in my book. And it's going to end up being a double page, and I will trim some of it to fit on the other page. That's what I'm thinking so far. So with that in mind, you've seen me do this before, where I've just set my embellishments in place. They're not adhered down yet. They're thinking, they're resting, they're pondering, is this where I want them to go? So then this could kind of be still considered background, but I'm going to call this title. And so this Happy Times is going to come right in here like this. Again, I'm going to make sure that I have it as straight as possible. With it being cursive, we can kind of get away with it not being perfectly straight. It's not about perfection, right? But I think I like that. And so I'm going to consider this my feature sentiment, Happy Times. And indeed, this story here was a very happy time. And then at this point, let's just put it into place, right? Let's just rub that down. So again, this is something you could do with stamping if you had a stamp title. So that's always a consideration. There's no one way to do a thing, we well know. But it definitely goes exactly where you want it to go. That is super helpful. But I think it works because it's like this instant message. Right exactly where you want it. It's giving the whole story direction. You could easily use this kind of a title, Happy Times, to a mini album. I love that. Okay, I kind of missed my rub on there a little bit. I'll need to go back and fix that. There we go though. Okay, and then my picture comes back in here. And my leaf comes back in here at some point. I'll have more leaves to go in there. So, all right, so that's just one idea of how you could use this as a title. I've used titles with rub-ons lots of times. This one's slightly smaller than some previous ones I've used, but you definitely get the idea of yet another way how to utilize your stash of rub-ons. Okay, now this next idea, embellishing a transparency or a vellum, isn't necessarily new. I do this a lot on vellum. Today I'm going to utilize acetate. This is a great way to create a floating embellishment, an overlay. It'd be so fun if you had something, and then I've done this with pages before in my classes where the page overlays the photo or the embellished page, and it's just great. Such great depth. I love it. I love using this. The thing is that, oh, and then another idea that I haven't done before, but it came to my mind. And to then, this would be for vellum, but then to use a transfer, and that could be journal spot. Boy, my words aren't coming out very well, but you could make that as a journal spot, which I thought that could be an interesting idea. I'll have to think about that and play with that a little bit, but I want to throw that out there because again, you know, as is the preach here, there's more than one way to go about these things. So I'm just going to do what I always do. Have a scrap of acetate here. I'm using ScrapbookCom's acetate, and I am just going over with the a bone folder. Now, very often rub-ons come included in their package with like a craft stick. For sometimes a plastic one, sometimes a wood one, and it's just completely personal preference. I have a bone folder here that's always part of my stash. I have a blog post about my craft essentials, and my bone folder is part of that. I'll link that here to this particular video. And so that's just what works for me. But if a stylus works for you, or a, like I said, like a craft stick, like those popsicle sticks, then, you know, use what works for you. Use what you have. All kinds of different services work. Just the point is to make sure it's something that doesn't damage the rub-on, and that is going to consistently work to make sure your transfer lives right where you want it to live. So you can see I'm just coming in here and I'm fussy cutting right around the butterfly. Now, this doesn't have to be this work of perfection when you're trimming away the acetate, because, you know, basically a lot of this, you know, I'm going to see a lot of the acetate, right? It's acetate, it's transparency, it's kind of clear. So it's a great, if this is something you're not real comfortable with, this is actually a great way to start. This is a great beginner little exercise you can do. And you can just sit and make these again and again. And then you have all these acetate embellishments at the ready. Okay, I'm just going to trim a little tiny bit there. Okay, so you see I have my trimmer here that I also use as my scoreboard. And so what I'm going to do, because this is acetate, I'm going to just come in here and right down the middle, give it a score, and gently. And I don't want to rub off your rub-on, so don't do that. But it's just going to create just a little bit easier way to give it then the fold that it needs. And I was thinking I wanted this to overlap some elements here. I'm going to use 1/8 inch strip of foam adhesive. Oops. Also something well loved and used here in the studio for all our layering needs. Highly recommend having all types of foam adhesive at the ready. In this instance, we just want to make sure we can't see it. I don't think we can. And so I know I still kind of have this tentatively in here. It's how it goes. It's just how it goes. And then this is going to pop up right above our rub-on sentiment. And I think it's so great. And you don't have to be done. You could do 2 more here, same idea, and add to your page layout, your tag, your card front. People love receiving gifts that have this pop-up factor. They just think it's so fantastic. Well, now you know how to make that happen with acetate or with vellum. All right, as I wrap this up, I just want to share with you what I did in some couple additions here to this particular layout, especially as it pertains to rub-ons. You may or may not be able to see here. I just went through the rub-on stash that I have, and I cut out paint splotches and I added them in. Great way to do paint splashes. So not messy, right? I added a rub-on here on the tab. I made a mistake, messed it up. That's okay. I'm embracing it. I did a couple additional acetate butterflies. I think the acetate ones are my most favorite. They're just so mistake proof. You just can't even tell if you haven't cut them perfectly. And I added a few more pieces here to my cluster rather. And this as well. I also made this interactive so we can open this and I can have some journaling or more rub-ons on the inside. But I want to make sure I point it out to you. Just play and see where they can fit on your layout, on your tag front, on your card, on your project life, wherever memory planner, wherever you're using them. Sky's the limit. Don't limit yourself just because you see this on the scrapbook page. This right here could make such a great tag. I dare you. So tag me up if you do something from this video. If you are utilizing your rub-ons, I'd love to see what you do. Make sure you like this video, subscribe if you don't already, leave a comment. I'll also list and link below the rub-ons that I used in this video today. And thank you so much for watching. See you next time.